Our next speaker was a chemistry professor at DePauw University in Greencastle, Indiana for 35 years until his retirement in 1980. He also served as a visiting scientist at liberal arts colleges for the American Chemical Society. And he secured funding from the National Science Foundation to support undergraduate research at DePauw. He was also instrumental in securing funding to support the Percy Julian Scholarship and the Percy Julian Lectures. I'm pleased to present Dr. Donald J. Cook, Professor Emeritus of Chemistry at DePauw University.
I want to talk to you a little bit today about the Percy Julian legacy at DePauw University. But before I do that, I have another communication that I think you should hear. It's from Dr. Bernard Whitcock. He is a member of the National Academy of Science. He's a longtime in the National Institutes of Health, and at present he's an honorary National Institutes of Health Institute Scholar. He first became aware of Percy Julian through a Journal of the American Chemical Society publication back in the 1930s that he saw working as a student for Professor Heinrich Wieland at the University of Munich. This is before the war started. He communicated with Percy about his work because it correlated with some of the things he was doing. They were natural product chemists. And for the next 35, 40 years, there was a constant stream of communication between these two great scientists. And so he would have been here today to say something for Percy, but he has had to defer that because of the schedule for surgery. But he did send a message to Anna and her family, and he wanted it read here. Let me read it. It's a paragraph. We who are assembled here on this auspicious day have always kept the memory of our unforgettable Percy in our hearts and minds, and need not be reminded of him by a special commemorative stamp. But those friends who for many years have waited and worked for the issuance of such a stamp are overjoyed that a wider public will now be acquainted with a personality who kept his knowledge, his science, his humanism, and his wisdom in an unusual and enviable balance. In that respect, he may emerge again as a model for the younger generation to spur them to emulate him who overcame penury, prejudice by strength of character and hard work and high aims. As Percy would have phrased it, a good example is the best sermon. I want to talk to you about Percy at DePauw. In the fall of 1916, a black boy of 17 left his family home in Montgomery, Alabama, to travel by rail to Greencastle, Indiana, where he would enroll in DePauw University. With the coming of this lonely black boy from Alabama, the gentle winds of change would begin to blow across this northern university. It would be many years before they came to full strength in the naming of DePauw University's Percy L. Julian Science and Mathematics Center in October of 1980 in honor of this great black scientist and humanitarian. From the time Percy Julian entered DePauw University until his death almost 60 years later, his life and DePauw University would be woven together in a fascinating story that would gradually emerge. But in 1920, even though Percy Julian had graduated valedictorian of his class, had been elected to Phi Beta Kappa, Dr. William Martin Blanchard could not secure a graduate assistantship for his talented black student in any graduate school or in any industrial laboratory. For the next 10 years, Percy Julian was unable to find his rightful place within the chemical profession. He did what was recommended to him: find a good Negro college and teach chemistry there. So Percy Julian joined the staff of Fisk University in Nashville, and for the next 2 years taught there. But he would find a DePauw connection in Nashville when he discovered that a DePauw graduate of 1914, Dr. George L. Clark, who later achieved fame in X-rays at the University of Illinois, was on the staff of Vanderbilt University, and it was Dr. Clark who secured books from the Vanderbilt Science Library for Percy to use at Fisk. From Fisk, Julian went to Harvard as an Austin Fellow and received the MA degree there in 1923. In succeeding years, he served on the staff of West Virginia State College, and in 1928 as head of the Department of Chemistry for Howard University, Washington, D.C. Finally, in 1929, fate and good fortune, through a Rockefeller grant, provided him an opportunity to study under the distinguished chemist, Dr. Ernst Spate, at the University of Vienna in Austria. And here he became a natural products chemist, and he received the PhD in 1931. And it was in Vienna that he would be exposed to European culture, would develop his love for opera and the arts, and return with the courtly manners which would give to him a special grace forever after. But by now the Great Depression of the 30s was in full force. Dr. Julian was in need of laboratory facilities that he might continue a research career. Again, DePauw University, through the efforts of now Dean William Martin Blanchard, offered him its support. He was named a research fellow and placed in charge of directing research projects for senior and graduate chemistry majors. And so, in the next few years, from 1932 to 1936, under the direction of Percy Julian, a steady stream of research papers appeared in the Journal of the American Chemical Society. Here, Dr. Julian worked with seniors such as Doyle Boggess, Arthur Magnani, Bernard Sturgis, Wayne Cole, Frank Watts, William Gist, Thomas Wood, Edwin Meyer, and Ray Dawson. All were to achieve distinguished scientific careers and helped establish DePauw University as a small liberal arts university of high scholastic reputation. In a 1990 issue of the Beckman Center News, Dr. Ray Dawson, fall 1935, described his work with Percy on a chemical problem during the year 1934 to 35, and he said, "The experience had been a demanding, but at the same time it was stimulating learning for an undergraduate, as well as a rare encounter with genuine scholarship." These DePauw chemistry students found that Percy Julian exemplified genuine scholarship, and a number of them later followed him to the Glidden Company. It was during these years that in 1935, from Old Mitchell Laboratory, Percy Julian and Joseph Pekel reported in the Journal of the American Chemical Society the complete synthesis of isostygmine, esterin. It was this report that secured Percy Julian's reputation as an international chemist at the age of 36. One might assume that DePauw would now accept Percy Julian, a world-renowned chemist, and offer him a teaching position on the staff. But DePauw's Board of Trustees missed an opportunity to make academic history and rejected his appointment, saying that the times were not right for a Negro to be named to the faculty of DePauw University. This even though both Dean Blanchard and President G. Brownlee Oxum had recommended his appointment. So in 1935, Percy Julian was forced to seek an industrial position, difficult as that could be for a black man. Dr. Julian's disappointment following the DePauw rejection was alleviated when on December the 24th, 1935, he married Miss Anna Johnson of Baltimore, Maryland. He was soon to receive the PhD in sociology from the University of Pennsylvania. This charming, beautiful woman of rare abilities would now give to him the love, the support, and the care he needed through long years. And then a telephone call came from the late W.J. O'Brien to Percy, gave him the opportunity he needed when he was offered the position of Director of Research of the Soya Products Division of the Glidden Company of Chicago. It was here in the Glidden Laboratories that he would form a nucleus of young researchers, and for the next 18 years directed the research division in synthesizing sex hormones, a new and affordable way to produce hydrocortisone, protein products, and many other patentable products. In 1953, he established the Julian Laboratories, which ultimately would become a subsidiary of Smith, Kline, and French Laboratories. In 1964, he organized Julian Associates Incorporated. Until his death on April the 19th, 1975, he continued his private research studies as well as acting as a consultant to a number of pharmaceutical companies. He was a pioneer in the chemical synthesis of drugs used in medicine and the treatment of glaucoma, arthritis, hormonal deficiencies, and so forth, by making possible to produce large quantities of drugs at low cost. And now, I want to speak of the continuing relationship with DePauw University that Percy Julian nurtured and which continues to this day. Following his rejection by the trustees in 1935, one might expect that Dr. Julian would cut his ties with the university. A lesser man would have. There would follow busy, demanding years of high achievement and recognition for him, both as a scientist and a humanitarian. We have heard that he was named Chicagoan of the Year in 1950. His honors are too numerous to record, but Percy's concern and love for his alma mater did not falter. It was as though he could always see above the fray. He could keep his sights on the true values. He would serve on her board of trustees as well as on that of many other universities. He would return often to her campus to lecture and to speak, displaying his great gifts as an orator and writer. He would receive DePauw's coveted old gold goblet in October 1950 and the first McNaughton Medal on September the 30th, 1972. Following his death on April 19, 1975, DePauw University would name her great Percy L. Julian Science and Mathematics Center for him. The winds of change continue to blow strongly at DePauw University. He would be happy to know that now more blacks and minority students are enrolled at DePauw with adequate scholarship support. He would be proud that the Percy L. Julian Scholarship Fund, which was established by his wife, his daughter Faith, and son Percy Jr. in 1977, has provided financial assistance for over 20 science and medical majors these past 15 years. The 17th Percy L. Julian Memorial Lecture will be presented on April 8th of this year by his attorney son Percy Jr. in the auditorium of the Percy L. Julian Science and Mathematics Center. This lecture series is recognized as one of DePauw's finest academic presentations. And on this day, there will be a second issue by the Greencastle Post Office of the Percy L. Julian commemorative stamp on this campus where he studied and achieved, and on this town where he lived and walked its streets. It will be a day of celebration. Percy Lavon Julian was a product of a small liberal arts college. He truly exemplified the liberal arts man in every facet of his rich and illustrious life. Percy Julian's faith in his university has been fulfilled, and his legacy of excellence in all things, of brotherly love, of justice for all, of hope for the future, still drifts across this campus as the winds of change continue to blow across our nation as she seeks to fulfill her destiny. On the occasion of the naming of the Percy L. Julian Science and Mathematics Center, Dr. Julian's son, Percy Jr., would say, "Today, my father has truly come home to DePauw University." DePauw University salutes her famous graduate, Percy L. Julian, as we honor him here today. Thank you.